What if the money you prayed for asked for someone you love in return? Would you still take it? Stay with me because a member of this family made a choice and it destroyed everything for him. In a small village in Nigeria lived an old widow popularly known as Mama Daniel. Her husband had died many years ago, leaving her alone with 4 children. She and her husband struggled for many years after marriage for kids and was later blessed with not just 1, but 4 beautiful children. Life was not easy. Mama Daniel used to be a farmer, but old age had made her weak. Her back hurt, her legs shook, and she could no longer walk on the farm. Now her children struggled every day to feed the family. Her children were already grown. The eldest was Daniel, quiet and serious. Next was Peter, hardworking but hot-tempered. Then Sam, calm and thoughtful. And the youngest, the only girl, was Lily, just 18. She was the joy of the home. They were poor, but they loved one another deeply. Every day the brothers went out looking for small jobs, carrying loads, working on farms, fixing things, anything to bring food home. Some days they ate once, some days not at all. Yet they stayed hopeful until sickness came. One evening, Lily fainted while cooking. They rushed her to a small hospital in town. After carrying out a series of tests on her, the doctor said she had a serious illness that needed expensive treatment. Money they did not have. The brothers ran everywhere looking for help. They met relatives, village elders, old friends. Everyone gave excuses. Days passed. Hospital bills increased. Soon the hospital asked them to take Lily home because they could not continue treatment without payment. They carried their weak sister back home, hoping for a miracle. Daniel could not sleep at night. Hearing Lily cough made his heart break. One day, a close friend of his whispered to him, "There's a native doctor outside the village. People say he helps people get money. Maybe you and your brothers could visit him and seek help." Daniel, shocked at what his friend said, refused instantly, saying Mama hates such things. But Lily grew weaker every day. Days later, Daniel told his brothers about what his friend had suggested. Peter refused immediately. Sam hesitated, then said, "If this can save Lily, we should try and find out what it will take." They went to the native doctor and stated their mission to him. The native doctor looked at them and said, "If you want wealth, one person from your family must be sacrificed. One life for prosperity." Daniel and his brothers were shocked hearing that. "What? We came to save our family, not kill someone," Daniel shouted. "That is the only way," the native doctor replied calmly. "Return when you decide." They left in silence and disappointment. On their way home, they agreed to forget it and not to mention it to anyone, not even Mama. Nobody was ready to die, and Lily was too young. But Daniel kept thinking about it. Their mom later noticed their strange behavior and suspected something was going on. She questioned them and they told her everything was okay, that they were just thinking for how to raise money for Lily's medical bills. Later that night, Daniel secretly told her mom everything about their visit to the native doctor. His mom was angry hearing that and warned him never to think of such evil again. The next morning, Lily went to Daniel and said to him, "Brother, I'll do it," she said weakly. Daniel stared in shock. "What?" Daniel asked. She said, "I overheard the conversation between you and Mama last night, so go ahead and use me." Daniel, more shocked, struggled to speak for a moment, now said, "Stop it, Lily. What are you saying? You didn't hear anything, so pretend you never did, and please do not mention this to anyone in this house." He tries to leave, then Lily held his hands and said with tears in her eyes, "I am already dying, brother," she whispered. "If my death can save everyone from this poverty, then let it mean something." Daniel hugged her tightly, crying. He refused, but Lily kept begging in the following weeks as her condition worsened. Finally, after much thought, one night Daniel came to Lily and asked, "Are you sure you want to do this for us, Lily?" "Yes, and you have to go now before it becomes too late. I feel weaker every day," Lily said. As Daniel stood up to leave, Lily held his hands and said, "Just promise me you will help everyone when the money comes." With tears, he said, "I promise." He went alone that night to the native doctor and told him he is ready for the ritual. The native doctor smiled and said, "Let the process begin." He did some rituals and incantations, calling out Lily's name severally. When he was done, he told Daniel that he would spend 2 nights in the shrine to complete the process. On the 3rd day, he returned home. He met his mother and brothers crying. Lily had died. Daniel cried with them, pretending he knew nothing. Days later, Lily was buried. Days after the burial, the brothers asked Daniel where he had gone 2 days before Lily died. He lied to them, saying a friend of his needed his attention on a project he wants them to handle together. They just said okay, though they didn't believe him. Soon after, Daniel traveled to the city without telling anyone where he was going. 1 month later, he returned in a big car, dressed like a rich man. Everyone was shocked. The family questioned his source of wealth, and he claimed he got a big contract supplying building materials to a certain construction company in the city. Though doubtful, his family accepted his story. But Daniel changed. He moved back to the city and forgot about his agreement with Lily before she died. He abandoned them in the village, bought a big house in the city, spent money in clubs and chased women. If his brothers called him for money or visit him, he treated them like beggars and sent them away. Money truly changed him. Mama Daniel's heart broke seeing her son abandon them to suffer. Not long after, she fell sick and died. Daniel didn't bother coming for her mom's burial, nor even send money. Months later, Peter and Sam eventually moved to the city and started small jobs to survive and chose to forget about Daniel and his wealth. Meanwhile, strange things began happening to Daniel. At night, Lily appeared in his dreams, crying. "Tell them the truth," her voice echoed. Daniel ignored it, but suddenly his business began failing. Money disappeared, contracts were cancelled, friends left. Him. Soon he was broke. He went into a series of debts. He sold his cars and house to pay up, else he would be arrested. In fact, everything happened to him like magic. After hesitating for a while, Daniel returned to the village to confess to his brothers and close relatives about everything that happened. When he got home, he found out no one was there. He didn't even know his brothers no longer stay in the village. He wondered where they could be. After searching and asking around, he found out they now stayed in the city. He begged them to come home, that it was important. They had refused at first, but later decided to go find out what he wanted from them. Back in the village, Daniel started crying and confessed everything. His brothers were furious. Peter almost attacked him, but other relatives around held him back. Daniel cried and begged for forgiveness, saying Lily's spirit has haunted him enough and he couldn't keep the truth anymore. His brothers sorrowfully cried and walked away without speaking to him. Now poor and disgraced, Daniel stayed in the village. People mocked him daily. He stopped going outside because he couldn't face the shame anymore. He went into depression and soon sickness took over his body. When his brothers heard he was dying, they returned. An uncle begged them to forgive Daniel so he could die in peace. Though painful, they forgave him. A few days later, Peter and Sam started making plans to take Daniel with them back to the city so he could get a good medical attention. The morning they were supposed to leave, Daniel didn't wake up in sleep. Unfortunately, he died quietly in his sleep. Peter and Sam had cried and cried because no matter what he did to them in the past, he was still their brother and had the same blood running through them. Days later, he was buried beside their mom and Lily. Peter and Sam returned to the city carrying both sorrow and lessons learned from their brother's mistakes. And the village never forgot this story. Lesson from this story. Quick wealth gained through evil or selfish choices never brings peace. Love, patience, and honest work may be slow, but they protect the family and give true happiness. Sometimes the price for money is too high to pay.